Okay, go ahead.
Okay, first I want to do an audio check to make sure that we can hear everybody and everybody can hear. So I'm just going to read off real quick your name and just let me know if you can hear okay. Chairperson White?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, Vice Chairperson Christensen?
Yes, I can hear.
Commissioner Wright?
Loud and clear.
Okay, Commissioner Hollingsworth?
Yes, I can hear you.
Commissioner Nixon?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, and then we also have Jay.
Yes.
And do we have Kim? Do you know, Jay?
No, Kim is not attending tonight.
Okay. And then we have myself as clerk. So per the State of California Executive Order N2920, this meeting is being held telephonically. All public comment were received either email or voicemail as noted in the agenda. Commissioners, if you could please mute your microphones until you're called upon for comment or vote. And now I will let Chairperson White open the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, welcome. First, we're going to do the roll call. Dory?
Okay, I know we have to do this again, but this is the official roll call. Chairperson White?
Here.
Vice Chairperson Christensen?
Present.
Commissioner Wright?
Here.
Commissioner Hollingsworth?
Present.
Commissioner Nixon?
Here.
All members are present telephonically. Thank you.
Okay, I know it seems odd, but we're going to do a pledge to the flag, and I will lead you in that. So if you put your hand over your heart and begin. I pledge allegiance,
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. What we're going to do, obviously, this is a little different for all of us, but just in order that we can get things recorded properly, whenever we vote on something, I will be calling on each of you individually. So that way we're not talking over each other. However, when it comes time to make a motion, I won't be calling on anyone, so just speak up, say your name, and say you want to make the motion, and then the person who's going to second, say your name and that you're going to second. So the first item on the agenda is a consent agenda. Does everyone have their information in front of them, or do I need to read that paragraph? Christensen?
I have it.
Wright?
Yes, I have mine.
Hollingsworth?
Yes, I have mine.
Nixon?
Yes, I have mine, Charles.
Okay. So, since there are no people attending this in person on the phone, I'll ask Tori, were there any public comments regarding consent agenda that should be removed?
No, we received 0 comments by email and 0 comments by voicemail.
Okay. So on the consent agenda, are there any items that any of the commissioners would like to be removed? Christensen?
None for me.
Wright?
None for me.
Hollingsworth?
No.
Nixon?
No.
And I have none to be removed. So we will now, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Charles, this is Kim. I make a motion to approve as presented.
Okay, Kim has made a motion. Is it seconded?
I second it. This is Linda.
Okay, Linda has seconded. Okay, so now we'll have to take a roll call vote on that. Christensen?
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Hollingsworth,
Yes.
Nixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So it was a unanimous vote for approval of the consent agenda. Next, audience oral and written communications. Were there any of those that came in, Tori?
No, we did not receive any comments by email or by voicemail.
Okay. Item number 5, sign application 2020-08-CN, signs for Tehachapi Town Center at 807 Tucker Road. Jay, would you like to make the staff report on that?
Yes, please. Thank you, Commissioners. Tonight, the first item I have for you is the approval of a replacement sign produced by CNN Signs for the Tehachapi Town Center. In your packet on PDF page 24 is a picture of the existing sign that is to be replaced. To give you guys context, it's the large jack-in-the-box sign in the southwest corner of the intersections of Tucker and Valley Boulevard. The sign is being, I simply have this off consent, that the city finds that the sign as presented is compliant with all of the sign codes, and so we find that nothing in the attached application falls under the prohibited signs section. Simply wanted to let you all know that this sign replacement is a product of actually the existing sign was legal non-conforming until it was recently replaced without a permit. And so following communication with the property owner about the complications associated with replacing a non-compliant sign, the applicant or the property owner agreed to replace the sign. I thought it would be just a briefly good opportunity to let the commissioners know that that our procedure in these cases, and the code is very clear, that if you have a sign that's legal non-conforming, meaning it doesn't conform with our codes, but it's still a legal sign because it was created prior to the codes changing to make it illegal, that sign may be rehabilitated and must be kept in good repair in order to stay legal non-conforming. But if it falls into disrepair, requiring significant repair or replacement, it is subject to being revised to meet the city standard. And that's the situation that occurred. So if you go to page 25 of the PDF, that's where you'll see a rendering of the proposed multi-tenant sign with a decorative base and a new top to it. And so with that, that concludes my report on this item. We therefore recommend, let me go back and I'll read it properly to you. We recommend approval of sign application number 2020-08, CN signs for the Tehachapi Town Center.
Okay, thank you. Tori, were there any public comments on this?
We did not receive any comments by email or by voicemail, Charles. Thank you.
Okay, so what we will do now is take commissioners' comments. We'll start with Christensen.
I have none. I think it looks great. I think it will be a super good addition to that corner. We got the lights done and painting and you know, the new lines and stuff. So I think this is great. Thank you, staff.
Okay, Wright.
No, it was a good catch by the city. I'm glad it's going to look better.
Okay, Hollingsworth.
I agree. It looks really nice.
Nixon.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it as presented.
Okay, and my only comment is I've noticed when I drive along there, you look and the names on the sign are so hard to see and so hard to read. So I'm sure this will help the tenants. It'll be a lot more orderly. So I think that it is a great improvement. Okay, so I will now entertain a motion to approve sign application number 2020-08-CN, sign for Tehachapi Town Center, 807 Tucker Road.
Daryl moves.
The motion was made by Daryl Christensen.
This is Kim. I'll second it.
Kim Nixon seconded. So now we will take a vote on this. All in favor, Christensen?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Hollinsworth?
Yes.
Nixon?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So that makes it a unanimous vote for approval of sign application 2020-08 Tehachapi Town Center. Okay, moving right along. Item number 6, architectural design and site plan review number 2019-07, amendment number 1 or the location is 1121 Goodwood Drive. It's an industrial warehouse. Jay, do you want to give us the staff report on that?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Commissioners, the second item I have for you is, as Commissioner White said, Architectural Design Site Plan Review 2019-07, Amendment 1 for Goodrick Drive. As a reminder to you all, this application was originally approved, pardon me, I'm going to find it here. Where is the previous approval? Sorry, it should be right here in front, but I'm not seeing it. Conditions, I believe it was approved back in November of last year, and I could have sworn it was right here in the opening paragraph. Anyway, forgive me, it's not terribly relevant. You guys, the commission approved a small industrial building with unnamed tenants to be located at 1151 Goodrick Drive a number of months ago, and the applicant has moved forward with the project in compliance with the conditions of approval since that time. They began specifically submitting engineering site plans as well as building plans for the erection of the subject building, going through the process of landscaping and engineering, et cetera. What we discovered during the course of the review of the engineering plans is that the conditions of approval, which were standard applied for this project, may not be a logical application in this specific case. And so tonight our recommended action is that you adopt a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Tehachapi approving Architectural Design Site Plan Review number 2019-07, Amendment 1, subject to the revised conditions of approval. So briefly going through the staff report, an environmental review was completed for the original project, and this modification does not justify a revisiting of the CEQA document, nor is there justification for a full public hearing associated with this revision. The project background information is page 30 of the agenda and contains the information about the applicant and the zoning, which has not changed since the original approval. Furthermore, the applicant letter and the applicant's intent for the project has also not changed since the original approval. So, here it is, on August 12th, the Planning Commission approved the original project to construct a 9,800 square foot light industrial building with potential land uses of warehousing, manufacturing, and automotive repair, and a site is included there. And we note on page 32 of the PDF that we will not be discussing tonight development standards, architectural elements, parking, airport compatibility, signage, lighting, landscaping, or fences and screening, because each of these components remain the same from the original approval. What did change, however, was a discussion regarding full street width improvements for the subject site. And so what you'll see in our application, with our report, what we discovered is that we had conditioned, again, this language is standard for us when anyone develops a vacant piece of property, and the typical frontage improvements include curb, gutter, sidewalk, drive approaches, street lights, fire hydrants, signage and striping, and the removal and undergrounding of any and all public utilities, i.e. overhead poles that run across the front of that site. And in some cases, that can be a very expensive endeavor. But we do them as a standard in order to continue to grow the city with the look and feel that the council has asked us to undertake. But what we discovered as we were going through is this individual lot is in the middle of Goodrick Drive, several thousand feet down from Dennison Road, and is surrounded by a number of fully developed neighbors. And none of those neighbors have this extensive amount of public improvements associated with the frontage of their property. Specifically, I'm speaking to the issues of concrete curb and gutter, concrete sidewalk, and the undergrounding of power poles. And so the concern became that by mandating these standard full width improvements, we wouldn't be completing any type of sidewalk, so we wouldn't be producing any sort of meaningful pedestrian benefit. Undergrounding the power poles across the front of this property would be almost ludicrous in the way that it would come out, because you'd end up with a pole on the property on either side of them and a small section of undergrounded power lines for frankly a very extensive expense. If you roll on to page 33 of the PDF, you'll see some photos we took, we grabbed out of Google Earth, that show the character and nature of Goodrick Drive as an industrial area within the city. And you can see in a number of the photos the type of improvements that exist. It's a clean, unified area, but it's not developed in the sense that we develop residential or commercial areas in the city. Continuing on to page 34, you'll see figure 9 there. It's not a great photo. It's the best one we could find. I apologize for that. It's a depiction of the site itself that shows a complete street width with asphalt curb. The power poles are seen, but there's not a formalized pedestrian path in the form of a sidewalk anywhere on either stretch of Goodrick Drive. So in short, staff had a moment where we went, look, these conditions represent $50,000–$100,000 of improvements mandated on a development that the city would have to own and maintain once complete, that provide little to no meaningful benefit to the public, but actually provide new facilities the city would have to own and maintain in perpetuity. And because of the nature of the developed neighbors on either side, it's highly unlikely that any time in our lifetimes would we see meaningful consistency between the additional developments. As such, we are presenting this amendment to you to modify these specific conditions of approval. Those modified language is contained on page 34 of the PDF. We will continue to require fire hydrants and lighting as needed to maintain the spacing that's appropriate for this area. But in short, we've modified the language to not require existing utilities to be undergrounded. Any new utilities would need to be placed underground, like the service drop from the pole to the property would need to be underground. But we would specifically be removing the standard requirements for concrete curb and gutter and sidewalk. Those are really the big removals. So with that, no variance is requested. Required findings are listed there. We do not believe these changes to the language change the nature of your findings from your first approval. And you have the options of approving, denying, or continuing this action. And as I stated before, we recommend approval. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Tori, were there any public comments on this?
We did not receive any comments by email or voicemail.
Okay. We will take commissioners' comments now. Let's start with Christensen.
Yeah, I have a couple. I'm really appreciative to staff working with the applicant on this. This is nice, trying to be business friendly and looking at not requiring something. I do like it. I do have a concern though. I know, Jay, you said, if ever, you don't expect ever in our lifetime to see improvements needed. By approving this now, if sometime in our lifetime, 10 years from now, they come up, the city comes up and says, hey, all the business property owners have to put in curbs, gutters, and sidewalks, will this affect that?
Theoretically, my answer, I think, to you, Commissioner Christensen, is that that's not possible. the grandfather laws more or less protect property owners from the city being able to mandate their future improvement. If they were to make a sizable remodel or expansion of their development, that produces a situation under which new conditions of approval can be applied. But I think that's the basis of my belief that an applicant-driven set of changes to Goodrick is not likely. What is more likely to ever occur, but I would state I think it's highly unlikely, is that the city would undertake a comprehensive improvement project if for some reason in the future the belief that consistent sidewalk was needed through this area for some particular purpose, or that the power poles needed to be undergrounded, it would be far more efficient and far more likely that it would be undertaken as a city endeavor. And it's for that very reason that the city normally has a condition that says, look, you're the developer of a vacant property, you do it, because we don't want to saddle ourselves with that expense in the future. But what's really hinging this issue for me and us here in this department is that it's industrial in nature. If this was commercial in nature or residential, or there were commercial and residential neighborhoods at the end of this road, I would be taking a different tact. But since this is all industrial, it will likely all continue to be, since much of it is developed that way already. We just don't think that it will ever rise to the need of having that extensive a set of public improvements, and therefore it doesn't make sense to make this one guy do it either.
Perfectly explained. Thank you very much. I have no further.
Okay, Commissioner Wright.
I think what Jay said, meaning I like it. It looks good.
Very good.
Okay, Commissioner Hollingsworth.
I think all of this makes perfect sense. It sounds like a really reasonable way to approach it.
Commissioner Nixon.
I think that staff has done an incredible job with this, and part of Goodrick happens to be in the county as well. So any improvements, I think, Jay, if the improvements were ever requested for the whole street, the county would have to be brought in on it as well. Isn't that correct?
I agree, and I think there's correct, and we have a predisposition towards a completed street with sidewalks, and I think that's a good thing for us to have as a city. But I'll be honest with you, I sat here in my office for a couple of days, just feeling like this just didn't make a lot of sense. And so that's when I contacted the applicant and asked him whether he wanted to endeavor to come back and visit you all with this decision. But yes, I agree. I think that any future improvement to this road would be a sizable improvement that would likely include the county and the city together.
And the only other thing is that street, the road is quite wide currently. So, and it's in really good condition, and it has asphalt curbing all the way down on both sides of it. So, and there are no drainage issues currently on that road. So I think that this was a really good call by staff. That's all I have.
Okay, my comments are the same as the other four commissioners. I think it's a good call, and as Vice Chairperson Christensen said, it makes us appear a little more business friendly, and it helps this particular developer. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adopt a resolution approving AD and SPR 2019-07 Amendment Number 1, subject to conditions of approval.
Christensen
I move. Oh, go ahead.
Christensen moves. Sorry.
Motion made by Christensen.
Second.
Was that
Hollingsworth.
Linda?
Yeah, Hollingsworth.
Yes.
Yeah.
So seconded by Hollingsworth. So now we will take a roll call. Christensen?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Right.
Aye.
Hollingsworth,
Aye.
Nixon,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So it's a unanimous vote for adopting resolution approving ADNSPR 2019-07, amendment number 1. Okay, item number 7, plan development number 2018-01, amendment number 2 for Sage Ranch project. Approve an extension of plan development number 2018-01, amendment number 2 of 6 months for the project applicant to complete their environmental impact report. Jay, do you want to give a report on that?
Yes, please. Thank you, Commissioner White. The last item that I have for you tonight is, as you stated, amendment number 2 to plan development number 2018-01, known as Sage Ranch. As you will recall, our regulations for the execution of a planned development require that a final master plan be presented to the Planning Commission within 6 months of the date of the Planning Commission's approval of the preliminary master plan. The preliminary master plan, as you will recall, was approved by the Planning Commission in February of 2019. And the first amendment to the plan was a further extension of 6 months of the project from August of 2019 until February of this year. And so tonight, we had hoped after the first extension that we would have been complete with the CEQA document and ready to bring the project back to you, which is why we only asked for 6 months at that time. Due to some complications in executing the CEQA document, purely just internal, getting the pieces pulled together in time, we didn't make that deadline. As you were all aware, the CEQA document is now out for public review at this time, with comments expected back, or the comment period closing next week. We still have a sizable amount of work to do to complete the master development plan before we can bring that item back to you. And therefore, we spoke with the applicant about a second extension, and you'll see there in your application package, I am looking on page 49 of the PDF, they requested an additional 6 months. You'll note that they made that request in February of this year. As you know, it was the only item I had for the March agenda, and there was no meaningful difference, in my opinion, between the March and the April agenda. Both agenda dates were a few weeks past the previous extension. But in my opinion, since this is not the applicant's fault, because the CEQA document was still going through the process and the city was responsible for the execution of the CEQA document, that this extension should be considered valid. So with that in the way of background, the only action that we're asking you to consider tonight is the extension of the application. No other item associated with this project is being reviewed at this time. And so your options are to approve the extension or deny the extension, and we therefore recommend that you approve the extension of the Sage Ranch project for 6 months. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Tori, any public comment on this item?
We did not receive any comments by email or voicemail.
Okay, for commissioners' comments, let's start with Christensen.
I do have just a question here. For Jay, your staff report, or what you were saying actually answered most of my questions. What I think is most important is 6 months. I know that's what you're recommending. Is that reasonable? Or I don't want to come back in 6 months and do the same thing again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent question. The reason we should back up a step and go, I've actually spoken to Lisa Wise, who authored our zoning code, and asked them why they had that timeline in there. And I think they realized that 6 months as a timeline might be too short because of the reality of CEQA. But the entire point is to force developers to keep a project moving, which is a good thing. Because there's a risk whenever you have a project of this nature that somebody gets a preliminary approval and then goes to try to market that development instead of actually ever intending to develop that project. And so the clock that is inherent within the planning process effectively requires the developer to have a plan and to be planning towards moving the project forward. And so the 6 months that I'm requesting tonight gets us to a place where CEQA will have been well done and complete within that timeline. And if the developer is not in a position 6 months from now to actually ask you all to approve the final master development plan, then I think there's going to need to be a meaningful conversation about whether the project is extended again at that time or expired. And that will be you all's decision to make. But I think there's a big difference 6 months from now than there is from today. I don't think it's reasonable really on any level to deny the project tonight, since again, the CEQA document was the city's responsibility, and it's still being circulated for public commentary, and therefore is not ready to be approved by you all. And so therefore, even, Sage Ranch can't be blamed. We wouldn't be in a position to bring it to them. But 6 months from now will be a different story. So I hope that explains my thoughts.
Well, it does. I was looking at this was, like you said, it was on the February agenda. Well, back in February, we had no clue we were going to be talking via phone. And I just want to make sure that 6 months is enough process time with all this COVID homestaying thing that it can be done without compromising, the applicant and trying to hurry to get it done.
Yeah, good point. If you want me to get a crystal ball out, I'll try. But I think we all know, amusingly, that we have no idea how COVID is going to affect us in the coming months. But 6 seems like a good number. It gives plenty of time for the completion of the application and all the packet materials. I certainly think, we as staff are, we've spoken here about whether we would present this project, a project of this magnitude, if we were still doing this by phone. I'm not sure that we would. But if that's the case, then I'll come back to you and ask for the additional time necessary to do justice to the applicant and to the public at large. I think that's where my feelings are as manager of this process, is that this is a good number for right now.
I love your feelings. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Wright.
I have no comments.
Commissioner Hollingsworth.
I have no comments.
Commissioner Nixon.
I have no comment.
I may have missed it in here, but my comment, the 6 months extension, is that from the February 14th letter, or is that from today, or when does that date begin?
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thought. My interpretation, Commissioner White, is that it would be from today.
Okay. All right. I see your point, and I see Christensen's point. Your point being, as Lisa said, you wanted to have some limited time of accountability so that projects could, move forward in a timely way. How many extensions is he allowed on this, according to the...
Yeah, as many as you guys wish to grant him. There's no limit, top or bottom limit.
Okay.
It's completely within your power. I mean, you have the legal right to deny this extension, but you might be subjecting to the city to a lawsuit.
Right.
And so that's why we don't recommend that. But at the next one, again, if the only impediment to completion come the end of this 6 months is that the applicant hasn't completed their work, then that's a discussion you all we'll be asking you all to have. Anyway, I'm hoping that it won't come to that. But yeah, I think it's good to motivate developers to move forward on their projects and to have things like this in our code to keep them moving, but I also want to be fair. I mean, this is an extensive amount of money being spent on the CEQA document and on the development plan, and so we need to be reasonable about the time we give them to get their work done.
And we all realize that these are extraordinary times. Things aren't being done in a timely way as they have in the past in many different areas. So So that was my comment. So I will now entertain a motion approving an extension of 6 months for plan development number 2018-01, amendment number 2 for the project applicant to complete their environmental impact report. Is there a motion?
This is Hollinsworth. I move that we approve PD development plan. Anyway, PD number 21801, amendment number 2. Sorry.
Okay, is there a second?
Right, seconds.
Okay, so now we'll take a roll call vote. Christensen, say aye,
Aye.
or nay.
Aye.
Right?
Aye.
Hollinsworth,
Aye.
Nixon,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So it was a unanimous vote approving an extension for 6 months of plan development number 2018-01, amendment number 2. Okay, that completes our major business. So is there, let's see, looks like I'm juggling between several various papers here. So is now the time, let's see.
Planning Commissioner comments. Commissioner
Yeah,
Lyon.
I was going to see, so you come after us. Okay, so any comments, Christensen?
None from me tonight.
Right?
I have none.
Hollinsworth?
I only wanted to say that I had the opportunity to go to that Planning Commissioners Academy in February, I believe it was, and it was excellent. I appreciate the opportunity to have been able to attend. I really did gain a lot of information from it.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
No, that's all.
Okay, Commissioner Nixon, comments?
No, I have none this evening. Thank you.
My only comment is to thank you all for your patience in trying to get through this process. It's a little more difficult juggling more papers here than I normally have, and also wanted to encourage you all to follow the directives to self-isolate and stay safe. So that concludes my comments. And do you have any developmental services director announcements or reports today?
Only one. I just wanted to let you know that we are still open for business here. The front door is not open, but we are accepting plans and applications. We are preparing already. We believe there will be a May Planning Commission. I expect it will probably be in this same format, but we are still doing business, and happy to report that while definitely at a slower pace than it was prior to this, we are still experiencing some positive development of the city. So that's all I have for tonight, and I thank you all personally for, I know this is a complicated time, but we very much appreciate here in this department you all's consistent efforts to review, analyze, and give fair judgment to the items that come before you. So thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me, Charles, this is Linda.
Yes.
One other comment that I did want to make is that I really appreciate how well this was put together. I logged into the YouTube so you can see that, and it all seems to be handled so well. So I just wanted to say I appreciate all the efforts that were put in to make it run so smoothly.
Yeah, I think we all agree. It worked out pretty well this time. Okay, so with that, we will adjourn at 6:40. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, have a great night.
Thanks, everybody.